Thanks for attending this afternoon and welcome to our last Accelerate of 2021. Just to hope everyone's had another good year. Things are slowly getting a little bit back to normal, I hope, for everybody. And just as a reminder for, what is Accelerate, we did this, based on your feedback, looking to get more information from us more often, see what's happening within the SmartSimple world, what we're doing as an organization and with the platform, and just to stay connected throughout the year and just kind of staying in communication with everybody involved. So welcome to the session today. You have myself, I'm Eric Lauer, SVP of our Platform Solutions, and I'm joined by Dan Eardley, our President of our US Operations. And to kick that off, I'll pass it over to Dan, but our focus for today's session is prioritizing a safe and secure virtual environment. So over to you, Dan.
Thanks, Eric. Hope everybody's having a good day today. We wanted to focus on security and privacy and security around your systems and the platform because, as we all know, we're always hearing in the news pretty much every day now, different breaches, different security issues with different companies, and then the loss of personal information or information around the company or the organization. And there's a variety of reasons why these things happen, but just to note, some of them would be things like, compliance standards are not being monitored, or you're not maintaining those to the degree that they needed to be today. You're not having enough training to inform your employees on what to look for, avoiding phishing attacks and things like that. As well as an organization, maybe not defining what types of personal information you should even be gathering from your users within your systems. So security and data protection are vital, as we all know, so that we can maintain secure platforms, secure systems, and retain that information and not have any major issues as a result. So we wanted to talk a little bit about how, SmartSimple Cloud, the platform that we provide, is already equipped with a lot of different features and tools that you can use to maintain the system security and maintain your information and secure within that platform. So the tools are only as good as if you use them. So if you're using the platform today, you're not taking advantage of all of these different tools, then we're really not mitigating the risks that you need to at the end of the day. So this is where we kind of look to you, our clients, and working with you and sort of a mutual effort here to be able to create more secure, safe environments within your systems and empower you to take control of some of these tools to maintain your own security within your system. So, all of these types of things, if you're not an expert on it, it can be a little daunting. We all understand that, and so we want to just focus on a few different things that you could take advantage of. And by doing so, then it helps instill better confidence within your users so that they can respect that you as an organization are caring for their information and for your own information. So we're going to focus a little bit on these features, but before we get into that, we've got a few different company updates and things that we wanted to give you some more details around. So the first thing that we want to talk about is just another thing that we're offering to our employees. These are things just happening in the company. We've had a lot of effort this year as everybody's had challenges through the pandemic and everything with different mental health concerns. And whether it's minor or major, everybody struggles a little bit with these types of circumstances. So we've had a lot of different programs around that. And one of the things that we've done is we've offered free accounts to Headspace, app that all of our employees have access to now, to have annual subscriptions, to be able to work on meditation, mindfulness, and really improving their overall mental well-being. The next thing was that we created a new sort of formalized team and department here in the US, which I'm the president of, and really have the joy of leading sort of all of our US-based employees in our company here to be able to really work with you all as our clients, but also, to drive and define strategy for our continued growth and being able to work with more organizations and assisting with all of your philanthropic efforts. And then the next item was launching some of our first clients with a strategic partnership we have with America's Charities. So we announced that partnership with America's Charities a couple of years now, probably at this point. And it's been a long process to really build up all of the capabilities, the solutions, and really market the right things to be able to grow our footprint within the corporate market, and especially around things related to employee engagement programs, workplace giving, matching gifts, volunteering, and the like. So we've launched a handful of clients already over the past number of months, and have a whole host of them on the horizon ready to launch in 2022. So that's been a really great opportunity for us. And then the last thing that we want to talk about is the platform solutions team that we've really created over the past year or so, and really have kind of honed in on what the expertise is for that platform solutions group. And that's really around sales support, training for our clients, really focusing on the product and product management of the solutions that we're offering on SmartSimple Cloud, as well as working with you, our clients, to get regular feedback and suggestions, and making sure that we're bringing that back to the table so that we can really provide you all with the solutions that you need. And then one other thing that we've done just recently is a little bit of internal restructuring to bring our UI team that was formerly falling under our overall development group, that now falls into our platform solutions team as well, so that we're really placing a focus on bringing user interface and user experience as a part of the product in what we're providing to our clients. So on top of that, we have a few different metrics, some things sort of a look back over the past year at SmartSimple. And one of the things is around enhancements. So we've had a total of 74 overall enhancements, with the majority of them being enhancements to existing features, but others related to integrations, brand new features, security, UI, UX. It really runs the gamut. We also have entered now into 5 new countries in terms of where we have our footprint. So the 5 new countries where we have new clients that are net new countries would be Uganda, Switzerland, Monaco, Norway, and Guernsey. So those are exciting for us as we continue to expand into different areas. And we're actually having some different efforts in looking to expand within Latin America as well, as we continue to look at new markets. We also have, when we get into new markets and get into new countries, you always many times think about language and language translation. So many of our clients that we've been onboarding recently are really taking that to another level in terms of translating their systems into multiple languages to support their different user bases. And then we've also gone through a full system translation process for the platform itself with Gaelic within Ireland, and then also focusing on Portuguese to split out Portuguese from Portugal versus Brazilian Portuguese. And then one of the most exciting things, certainly for us, is the growth to be able to work with new clients, new organizations. So just in the 2021 so far this year, we've added a total of 69 new clients, and that's really exciting for us, and it's great growth. It's already 17 to 18% growth in our overall client base since last year. So we want to continue to see that and continue to be able to work with new organizations, while continuing to hear from all of you that we work with already, to be able to get feedback and really take the platform where you guys need it to be able to do all the good work that you do. So with that, we're going to kind of kick over to spotlighting these features that we talked about. Majority of these are all around, building that safe and secure environment using those privacy policies that we've talked about. But also we have one highlight for the upcoming November upgrade that we want to make sure that you are able to see as a part of this conversation. But these are going to be a live demo. Eric's going to be taking you through these. And so if you want to take notes, if you've got questions that you want to ask, we're going to have a town hall like we have over the past couple of Accelerates at the end of the presentation. So feel free to take your notes and questions you may have, and we'd love to hear about those once we get through the presentation.
Perfect. Thanks, Dan. So like Dan mentioned, we're going to walk you through some of the features in the system that relate to some of the topics we've had today. What I'm going to do first is just walk you through the slides, give you just a brief overview of what those features will be. Then I'll end the slide presentation, go into a live demo, and actually walk you through the tools. I think it'll be easier that way than trying to bounce back and forth between the presentation and then into the demo system. So the first thing we'd like to talk about is being able to set email thresholds, really. So this will allow you to be alerted in the event that a number or a large number of emails will be sent from the system through a workflow. We'll get more into the details there as I show it to you. Also, we'd like to show you and remind you of PII fields, or being able to flag custom fields as being personally identifiable information. Now, that's not a brand new feature. We've had that for quite some time, and we just want to bring it to the forefront. And same is true for this functionality here. We've had this in place since the GDPR legislation in Europe kicked off a few years ago, I believe, and that's the right to be forgotten. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. And then lastly, we'll get into our new search UI, which we've talked a little bit about, I think, in earlier communications out to you. But just to give you a visual heads up of what's coming in the upgrade, and I'm sure you'll like that quite a bit. So let's start. So here I am. I'm just in our demonstration system. It's all just when we use this for presentations and the like. So where I am now, I'll start with the email thresholds. So you can see here we have a new section under the communications tab in global settings. So how did I get there? If you're an administrator, if you click on the main menu, you can go to global settings, then choose the communications tab, and you'll see a new section here. So when you first arrive, it'll be set to this, no limit, which in effect is basically it's off. So what you can do at this stage, we have some predefined cutoff points of where or thresholds that you'd want this feature to kick in for. So, what's the purpose of this? So this is to prevent, or at least make you aware of when there's a large number of emails being sent through the workflow engine out to your users, contacts, or anyone that you're dealing with. So let's say maybe you have a workflow that on change of status notifies a contact of something. But then maybe let's say I went into my contact screen, pulled up a list of 1,000 contacts, and I just want to update their status for some internal purpose. Maybe I wasn't aware or remembered that there was a workflow that was in place to trigger an email to go out to those contacts when I made that change. So what this is allowing you to do is to kind of catch those and just make sure that, oh, right, yes, now I remember, I'm okay with that 1,000 emails to go out and send it out to the users, or wait a second, that was a mistake. We don't want them to go out. You can prevent the emails from happening. So that's what the threshold is, and that's just really to identify, at what level do you want that notification to occur? Is it when there's like 100, or not till there's 1,000? And this will just depend on, the type of business process you have in place, what you're sending out through email communications that are automated. So the choice could be yours there. In terms of who to notify, if it's blank, it goes out to everybody who's a global administrator. You're able to also manually pick and choose people by selecting their name, maybe by role or status, and adding them manually to the notification box. For those who are unfamiliar, if you go into any profile, such as my own, and I go into my roles and access, you can see here there's a global administrator toggle. It's probably few people in your organization that would have that access, but that's what that means of who's going to get that email in the email queue limit. So that's really what that's about. One thing to note that ties into this is in the message queue, emails that are pending to be released will be here under the on hold tab. So you will see if it does kick in, let's say after 100, you'll see those emails sitting in here waiting for you to release them. And it'll operate much like the other lists where you have the tick boxes. If it was an error, you can highlight them, delete them, or clear them and say, no, that's okay. I was aware of those emails to go out, and allow them to take place. So that's the threshold limit there. Really, we just wanted to point it out because it is fairly new. It does tie into things like privacy or security in the event that you could be notifying people inadvertently, just so you're aware from that side of things.
And probably good for people to just know too with the message queue is that emails are queued up on 5-minute increments. So the
Yes.
5-minute marks on the hour. So there is, even if you were aware of emails potentially going out that you wanted to essentially remove, as long as you go in there quickly enough, you could remove something from queue as long as it's within those 5-minute increments. So they do batch and then release on the 5-minute mark. So just something good for everybody to be aware if you didn't know.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. The next piece here, the PII, that's actually, it's really easy. If we here, I just went to a contact profile just ahead of time. They're identified by these lock icons next to the fields that have that's applicable. So if I go into configuration mode, again, I'm an administrator, I can control the properties of the field. If I edit that field, the only reason why it's showing up is because this toggle is on. So if I disable it, the little lock icon will go away. But as long as I enable it, it gives me this other box where I can provide a reason or reference to your policy as to why you're collecting that information. So it's important to let the users know. It's like, you know what, we need your name, we need your email address as part of our granting process, and this is why we capture that information. Typically, it'd be used more for, maybe you're grabbing date of birth, social security numbers, things like that. And is to identify to the users as to why, why you're asking for that information and what are you doing with it within your database. That also opens up this lock up here that allows you to see all the fields that have been tagged as PII, but see it all in one screen. And this is available to the users as well. When they log in as that person, they'll be able to see those fields and see this information. So it's not really just for an internal use. It's more so for your end users, the applicants, grantees, reviewers, whoever's logging into the system to be able to see what type of information you're tracking that could be construed as personally identifiable. Great. And that leads us into the right to be forgotten. So before I kind of walk through this one, I just want to describe it a little bit and as to the purpose of it. So there's new laws in place within the EU that allows a user to request that their data be removed from a system. So any sort of database. So maybe I had an application for a credit card or something, and I know I gave them my personal details, but it turns out I don't want to deal with that particular bank, let's say, anymore. I can make a request and say, hey, you need to remove my data, and they're legally obliged to do so. This legislation extends to any citizen of the EU, regardless of their residency. So if I am an EU citizen, if I'm here in the US or Canada, I can still make those requests as governed by those rules. So what we have in place is the ability to allow you to meet those legal requirements, but at the same time, not lose any data. So, people may think, oh, well, if I delete the contact, now I have no more history of, it's like they never existed in the system. So the way we've handled it is we actually encrypt and, remove their data from the database side without removing the record. So they'll still exist. We just won't be able to see anything about them. We've done that already here. They'll show up something like this where, there was a person that existed. That you did grant them $10,000 for through that particular program during that time frame, and here's all the details, but I won't be able to call up their address or their social security number, like I said, or contact them via phone, because all of that will be removed. What we suggest, and what some people have done, is set this functionality in conjunction with a module, with a UTA. So some people have, you'll need a way to request or track your requests rather than just getting an email into an inbox. Maybe you're getting audited on this, but, using a module to be able to track this sort of thing allows you to meet your compliance. If everyone calls you out on it and says, hey, did you remove someone's data on this day and time? You have a log and record of it. So what we did here, just as a sample, give you some ideas. Some people may be tracking it by type. Is this a personal request? Is it maybe from an organization? Maybe you want to track it by year, or maybe you want to track it by region. Say, oh, these are the requests we got from this region versus that region. It's really up to you. Feel free to contact us. You can reach out to Platform Solutions team, and we can kind of walk through this with you to kind of help navigate of how best to set it up for your use case. But what we've done here is set up a very, very simple module. It's just a few fields. It doesn't have to be overly complicated. This could be enabled. Maybe someone fills this out. Could be online. Maybe they send you an email. You transfer it into the system. But once it's here, we really can just create the new activity, which is a profile erasure request. So in that case is, you can track what you need to on it. In this case, again, keeping it very simple, just putting in it as a subject, who actioned this particular item, who is it that we are removing in the system, and then that's it. So I have a record. It was created on this day and time by me, and we're going to go ahead process the request. Right. So now it's pending being removed. This allows you to do any checks and balances. Maybe you need someone to follow up or do something at this stage. But once that's complete, you'll be presented with a button much like this. Forget profile. The system will ask you to confirm it. It's going to create a unique identifier for that request. And once I click this button and I confirm, they're now gone, just like that. So there's no way. And immediately, as soon as I refresh the screen, I don't even have access to that contact anymore. It happens immediately. And to be clear, we can't get that back. That's, it still exists in the database, but we've encrypted all that information that we can't even reverse it out. So, if I go to their profile to see the person, we can see everything about them. If they had any notes, if they had any grant activity, that's all fine. I can see they were part of an international organization, but I have no access to any of their data anymore. Okay. We can also generate a certificate of proof. So it just basically is just generating a PDF. It came up this morning. Is there some room to maybe potentially tweak this or change it? Yeah, we can look at things like that. Again, you can see here there was reference, and I wanted to do the same thing I did this morning just to call it out, because someone in attendance said, "Oh, how come it didn't say the name and stuff?" And it's like, well, I clicked the certificate after I deleted them, so I actually don't know who it was because they're not there anymore. So the system couldn't resolve the variables. So it was a good catch this morning. But yeah, we have the ability to log and generate sort of a certification to say that, we did what you asked, and this is a way of tracking it and keeping it into the system. So, out of all these things, again, this is not a new feature. We've had this for quite some time, but as things are becoming more relevant, more people are making these requests. I can even tell you we've had these kind of requests come to our for us with people that we've engaged with. So it is something that's, I think, becoming more prominent, and I can see other governments adopting a similar approach when it comes to this. For the big change that we have coming up in the November upgrade is the UI search. So I'm in backup right now. I had to flip into that because it's not on production yet. And the nice thing about that is it's all on your backup servers already. So if you want to take a look, try it out, it's already there if you've noticed it already. And it's all about this row here on the screen. You probably may not even have noticed it at first, and that's a good thing. So just to be clear what I'm talking about, if I go here to my applications, so this is the existing search screen as you know it today. I have my search bar here. When I click into it, then I get a drop down for type, status. I can choose a specific column to search. If I want to go into an advanced search, I got to click the down arrow. Here they all are. If I want to run a pre-existing filter, I got to go find it here. So what we've done is move some things around and realigned it just to make it a bit more intuitive especially for new users first coming to the search screen. Everything is front and center. It kind of flows in a better order, we believe, and will reduce the onboarding time for new people using the system, whether that's staff, your end users. Might be a little jarring for people who are familiar with the system, just out of habit, if you already know how it works. But already, I mean, we've been using this now for a little bit, and I got to say, with my own personal thoughts on it, is you adapt to it pretty quickly. It's just fairly intuitive. So nothing's changing, to be 100% clear, with the functionality. It's the same search that exists today. All we did was move the layout. So everything you can do today, you can do tomorrow. Nothing's changed there. It still works the same way. I can pick a specific column. I can type a keyword search, hit demo, or hit enter, gives me all the demo records. Nothing's changed. That works. I can do the same thing here. Demo, hit enter, I get my results. So nothing's changed with the functionality. However, a few nice things is I can see, without having to click in the box, that all the types and all the statuses are selected. So I don't have to guess and say, oh, was that everything? Was that for all my programs? No, if I choose none, it says none. As I select some, it'll give me a count as to how many the different application types have been selected. And the same is true for the status. So how many statuses do I have? Are they any selected? Is it a handful? Is it all of them? That's available to you here. Another nice thing is the filters has been moved front and center again. So if I do have any saved filters, I can select them from here. I don't have to go into the advanced search to go find them and then run them. I can do so right from the main page. The advanced search is still there. We've just updated the icon to better reflect what it is and to use a bit more of an industry standard. You'll notice the same image in other systems that you use when they're talking about filtering searches. If you select it, guess what? It works exactly the same way. I can add additional rows. I can do my and ors. I can pick my fields. I can do whatever. So nothing's changing at all with the functionality. If you had previously saved searches, they're still there. They still operate the same way. You still save your filters the same way. It's really just how we've arranged the screen and placed these boxes in an easier to use manner. So on that note, I'm going to go back to our presentation here and share with you on the screen. And we're at the nice part of the presentation where you get to ask any questions or have any comments from what we showed you so far.
Great. Thanks, Dan and Eric. That's been awesome so far. So just like was mentioned earlier, if anybody has any questions, believe you can unmute yourself, or if you just raise your hand, we can unmute you. If you feel comfortable, please feel free to go on video. Hopefully it makes it a bit more of a personal feel, as if we were in person. And let's just jump into some questions. So I know, Dan, you mentioned that Latin America is an area that we're looking to expand into. Are there any other regions that we're hoping to expand into within the next year? And what strategies are we taking for expanding?
Yeah, so we have had some recent growth in certain Pacific Island regions and are looking to grow and establish partnerships within those areas so that, from an implementation standpoint, we're not looking to run a bunch of implementation projects in North America or even in Ireland for places that may be that far removed. So the time changes too much. So what we do is we look to establish partnerships with the right organizations that are experts at software implementation, but just need to learn our platform and what we can offer. So we've done that in places such as Australia and elsewhere, where it may be quite far removed from a time zone perspective, but then being able to build up that partnership so that we're able to then extend those opportunities out to organizations in that area. Latin America is a focus right now, just because we've started some conversations with our hosting partnership with AWS, as well as now naming one of our existing employees, Christina Casas, as our regional director for Spain and Latin America. Christina is originally from Barcelona, so she's had a lot of success in continuing to grow the business there in Spain. But we'd like to really we have such a presence here in North America. There's no reason we shouldn't look at Central America and South America and the Caribbean as well. So that's kind of why we're looking within that area.
Awesome, thank you. Eric, I know you mentioned for the PII fields that there's that toggle. So are there any fields that are automatically marked as PII, or is that up to like the user to determine what fields they want to flag as such?
Yeah, we don't flag them on by default. So that's something up to the user. We can definitely assist you with which ones should be in terms of what's common fields, just off the top of my head. It's with PII, it's not necessarily the individual field. It's when they're all combined, right? So if you know my name, that's not such a big deal. But if you know my name, birthday, and social security number, now that's a problem, because now you can impersonate me and do things, right? So it's more so the combination of all those fields that could lead to trouble. So we don't necessarily turn them on by default for you, but based on the information that you're capturing, you can definitely enable it. And I think it's a good point too to be aware of what you're asking and why you're asking it. Do you really need that person's birthday? Is there any business reason why you need that information? So I think things are changing now, where you do have to kind of question the information that you are gathering and asking from the people that you're dealing with, and is it necessary to operate your business?
Yeah, just because you can gather all the information doesn't
Right.
mean you should gather all the information. And one of the things that we didn't talk about today, but can be something that you reach out to us on too, is that we also have different abilities to include different data privacy policies within the system, and then apply them to specific fields as well, so that you can, not just based on a role perspective, but also based on who the individual is, define who can actually see the data in that field or edit the data in that field. So things that are incredibly sensitive information, those are things you're going to want to look into using those data privacy policy capabilities, because you just want to reduce the risk as much as possible that people are not gaining access to information that they really shouldn't have.
Mm-hmm. Sarah, maybe there's a question I saw here in the chat just regarding the certificates and creating your own. Now that one's sort of, we kind of hard coded into the platform because it ties into the profile erasure, but you can create, we have clients who have created certificates for other things. It's just for those who are familiar, it's a web page view field. And then you can apply any kind of style to it, images, just like you saw on the screen today, make your own nice looking certificate, and you can even populate it with any information in your database. So, if you're issuing certificates for anything on your end, then it's pretty easy to do, as long as you have a design through HTML. But if you have a template you're already thinking of using, then it's not too hard to implement. If you have any questions like that, again, reach out to the team afterwards. We can kind of have a discussion with you on how to work with something like that.
Awesome. So yeah, if any users are interested in making the certificate, you are able to. We had a question about the new email limit feature. Is the minimum amount of emails 100? Is it possible to change that at all, that number?
Yeah, so those are just thresholds. So those are not, you can create your own. We wanted to have some control over the, just to keep things from a performance point of view as to what to check for. So it's not, to be very clear, it's not how many emails you can send through the system. It's just when you get alerted that there's a lot of emails going out. So you could still send, 20,000 emails if you wanted to. That threshold number is really just to say, oh, I need to be aware that I'm sending out a large amount. And when do you want that to be known? Is it if it's 100 or 1,000, something like that? It's not going to cap how many emails you can send. It's just going to, when you get alerted for it. And like I said, it's off by default. You have to explicitly go there to turn it on.
It's really just a backstop at the end of the day. And so, the concern could be you have somebody who has access to the batch update feature and they go in and they batch update 500 records and they have no idea that by doing something in batch, it's going to trigger all these emails to go out that never should have been sent. So really just trying to provide you all with an opportunity to have another chance to prevent something from going out the door that really shouldn't have.
And another question through the chat, when they're on hold, you'll see them in the on hold screen. You just have to select all, and then you'll have a button will appear. To probably see that in our review. We have a upgrade review meeting or presentation in the next week or so. If you attend that, we'll go through all of these features and how they operate.
Good questions, everyone. How do you two think the security landscape has changed over the past year?
I think it's things like, with everybody working from home, things that you took for granted in the office, being like a secure space. My best example is the e-signatures. A lot of people are adopting e-signature now, whereas maybe in the office it wasn't such a priority because, hey, I just go to the printer, print it out. I walk over to someone's office, they sign it, scan it, and away we go. But with everyone being remote, you don't want all these documents around. You want to keep things electronic. It saves people from having all this potentially, sensitive information around, and you can handle all this electronically now. Same is true with things like single sign-on. Rather than being able to just log into the website on your own, maybe you need to log into your network first, so through a VPN, and then once you authenticate into your organization's network, then they authenticate you into SmartSimple Cloud from there. So little things like that I'm seeing, and like what you mentioned, Dan, I think is a big one too. People are just because you can ask for things doesn't mean you should, and I think people are now questioning, well, what information are we asking, keeping on people, and what are we using it for?
Yeah, and then I think because of all the stories we're hearing about over the past year or two in terms of ransomware attacks and everything else, I think it is much more in people's minds. And so that's why we also wanted to talk with everybody today around at least some of the things that are in the platform. And this certainly isn't even all of them. But we want to be able to work with each of you, with each of your organizations, where if you have questions on how you can leverage these tools to make your systems more secure, we definitely want to work with you, because we can provide all the tools and capabilities at the end of the day, but we need you to all be able to establish your own security policies as an organization, and then we can leverage the capabilities of the platform to meet the policies that you establish, so that we can kind of jointly ensure that your data and your users' data is as secure as it can be within the platform.
Thanks, guys. It looks like that's currently all the questions we have. So that's going to wrap up our town hall portion, sorry. So thanks everyone for your questions, and I'm going to pass it back over to Eric and Dan.
Yeah, so one thing I just want to mention, we'll be doing another recharge week for the holidays coming up in December. We had one, if you weren't aware, we did this in the midsummer. Was it July, wasn't it, Dan? I can't remember. It seems so long ago already. Early August. Yeah. And I know I'm definitely ready for another one. Yeah. But we're basically shutting down operations for a week. We'll be giving all staff basically a week off, paid, like still be paying our employees for it. But we just think it's important for people's mindsets, what they've gone through in the last few years, and just to make sure everyone's taking a break and recharging, and just taking some time off for themselves, especially around the holidays. How does that impact yourselves? It will be taking place between December 23rd at 1 p.m. Eastern time, from then until January 3rd. So really, when we get back on January 4th, we'll be back to normal hours. We do realize that just because we're shutting down doesn't mean you're shutting down for the week. We'll be keeping support open for both live phone and online portal support. We'll be disabling the live chat during that week, but also we'll only be responding to level 1 and level 2 impact issues. So that's basically critical and high impact severity. Anything lower than that, then we'll be queuing up and logging, but we'll respond to you upon our return. And the support hours will be modified slightly. They'll operate instead of 24/5, they'll be going from 3 a.m. To midnight, again, Eastern time during that time frame. It was well received in our summer one, and we just wanted to do it again. Hopefully, I think we could kind of keep that up in the years to come, even minus pandemic. I think it's a good thing to do. Some upcoming events for everybody to keep their eye on.
Eric,
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to ask or just answer this question.
Sorry. Yeah.
We are going to be back in the office on January 4th. That's just what somebody just wanted to confirm if we were coming back on the 3rd or the 4th. And I believe we come back on January 4th.
That's correct. Yeah.
The 3rd is the observed holiday that almost most everybody on the call would be observing as well. So.
Perfect. Thanks. A couple more events coming up before the end of the year. We'll be doing the upgrade overview, so please stay tuned for that one. That's where we go through all the changes that you'll be taking place in the upgrade. As well, we'll be doing we'll be referring to as Upgrade Unpacked. That's where we do a deeper dive on some of the more key features, kind of walk through them, talk about them in a little more detail than on the overview. And always check out our virtual events page for any new events that we'll be hosting and going into in 2022. And I believe if it hasn't been sent to you already, we'll be sending it to you in the next few moments. But a short survey, if you don't mind completing. It's just important, much like our enhancements, which is primarily from client feedback, these events and the things that we talk about, we want to make sure that they relate to the things you want to know. So your feedback is really appreciated and help us define these things going into the new year. So if there's nothing else or any last questions, just want to thank you again for your time today. Nice to talk to everybody, and hope you have a great rest of the end of the year. If we don't have a chance to talk to you one-on-one.
Dan and Eric, this is Rajiv. I don't know if you have a question. Time for a question. I have a question for you. So
sure.
Please, I know, forgive my ignorance. I'm a new system admin trying to understand this platform. So the situation is when we run a call for proposal, the applicants creates different applications. By the end of the deadline, they submit supposedly 50% or 40% of applications to our program. So what happens, the rest of the applications are in draft at different stages. Somebody may not have completed the application template fully, or like they don't want to come back. And that is the information probably the owner, user, client, that is their own information. But as a system admin or program manager, we can see those depending on the filters we use, right? Mm-hmm. So my question is, what is the best practice to maintain those draft status information, which user may not come back to look at them again, but somebody may go back to their own old draft application, maybe retweak it to a different call for proposal at later stage. So just trying to understand what do we do with those data, which are very draft. Sometimes user may come back or may not come back.
Yeah, I don't know if we have necessarily best practice in that area, but yeah, because our system is not like, when they click submit, it's already in the system, right? The submit is just really telling you that they've completed their data entry and they're ready for you to look at it now. Even when application forms are in draft, they're still accessible by you as a staff member. So if the program's closed or the call is closed, and you're not accepting anymore, but it's still draft, some people I think they just leave them indefinitely. If you want to tidy that up, we also have the ability to archive. So, and this is, it's a soft archive. So it's not like we're deleting the information, but you can flag these records as being archived. So they don't show up in your day-to-day searches anymore, but they're still retained in the database. And you could actually choose to go search for them if you want. The only catch there is if they are archived, then the applicant won't be able to see them either. It'll look like they're gone. So I think in most cases, and Dan, you may have an opinion on that as well, I think most people keep them there. I don't think they necessarily remove them after the call is closed.
Yeah, and Roger, one of your peers, put in a response in the chat as well, and it was what I was going to mention as well, is that sometimes an organization will, once that call is closed, move all the remaining drafts to a different status, like a withdrawn status, and that way you're kind of maintaining what is actually still in draft, what could still actually be submitted, versus those that are past the deadline. They're no longer going to be in use. So you still have the data, and so then therefore if there's a reason that you want to maintain it, then you have it, but you can kind of bucket it separately from those that are actually a draft record. And then really it's up to you at the end of the day as an organization to define, do we want to do it on an annual basis, that we delete all withdrawn applications because they don't have value that is being added. Those are really kind of individual decisions as an organization to define what you want to retain, but I think each organization does that a little differently. But that whole sort of moving it aside and flagging it as a separate status, such as withdrawn, I think is a really common approach as well.
Thank you.
And it's a good thing. I'm actually glad you asked that question, because in addition to security and privacy, data retention falls into that as well. So
Right.
How long are you keeping data for, right? Like, maybe you have records that are in there, applications from 20 years ago. Do you still need that? Or is it okay to move out of the system, maybe archive it somewhere else? Do you really need to hold on to the information that long? So things to think about.
Right. Thank you.
No problem.
Very helpful.
Great. Well, thanks everybody for your time today, and hope you enjoy the rest of your days. We'll hopefully talk to you soon before the end of the year.
Thanks all.
Great. Thanks everyone.